how can you tell me? Oh my god.
From the Royal Society.
Jeremy, wait, hold on. Right, I'm sorry. Just 1 second. I'll let you continue in 1 moment. Jeremy, you told me that Kiwi defined mass. Now you're telling me Kiwi doesn't define mass. Brian, please continue. This fucking idiot can't even keep his own lies straight.
Smooth.
Well, it is true. Well, it is true that you were wrong to say that the number of particles in a substance is its mass. So Kiwi is also wrong because he's using a one-line quote from a discussion about people confusing mass with moles. That is that is what is going on there. There's actually a whole presentation about how not confuse the two.
I've always gone with it's just a measure of the quantity of stuff, regardless of its location in the universe and the gravity force put upon it.
Yep.
Yeah, but that's what I was saying, but apparently that's wrong. It's
No. You said the number. You said the number of particles as opposed to amount. Because you attempted to put a unit on it, it made you incorrect.
Ah, okay. I was also like heavily drinking at that point, but whatever.
Yeah, don't start making excuses, bro.
Jeremy, if you listen carefully, you'll hear that I'm saying I'm drinking.
It's all good. Listen, it's all good.
But Sheeples, it's not all good. I'm not willing to say it's all good.
No. What I mean is it's all good. It's all good because what Jeremy's done is represent you in a bad light. Then we've got someone who did the lead work for Jeremy because he was too lazy to go and get it. Jeremy couldn't recall off the top of his head. He just felt with his feelings how you were destroyed. So now Brian's clarified it because he did the 30 seconds worth of work, maybe more. I can't work it out, but that's the point. You've exposed Jeremy for the low underhand tactics that he attempted here. And now Jeremy's going to sit there and act like all is bloody Mary.
Brian exposed me, but he just told us how Smooth was wrong. So I don't know how that.
He was wrong in an aspect. He's wrong in an aspect, but you were just cheering on Kiwi like you always do because you see no wrong in him because he's on your side.
People, hang on. I got addressed on this. Smooth was incorrect last night. The definition that he's given today is a far better answer, and yet you're still treating it as though he has given his answer from last night.
Well, now he's just combining because now he's just combining the amount of matter in a substance with inertia.
How is he combining the two?
Go ahead. Let's hear your definition again, Smooth.
He's put it in text in chat, so there can be no ambiguity. I like the way you did that.
Thank you.
So you now have a written statement. What is wrong with that?
Yeah. Is anybody else getting tired of Jeremy day after day doing the same shit again and again? Like, this is just getting tedious.
Yes.
Yeah.
See, that's the problem. Is people want to talk shit and then they back down and quiver.
Yep.
Someone actually wants to hold them to the fire. Like, all right, Jeremy, let's tie ourselves into the ring, right? Show me what you got. Don't beg for someone to stop the fight. Don't beg for help. Right? Show me how you are right and I am wrong. You can't do that ever with anything. Literally said the sun can. We don't know if the sun is more than 6 miles above the surface of the earth, as though Mount Everest you can just touch the fucking sun when you climb it.
If that's the case, I'd certainly say take your suntan lotion if you go to Mount Everest.
Right, or don't fly in a plane at 34,000 feet or 40,000 feet because you might smash into the sun. I guess the sun is, filled with helium, right? Because technically, but it's less dense than the surrounding area.
Okay, so you gave me that it's the resistance to acceleration. All right.
Gave you a lot of things.
The definition is
resistance. And a measure of its resistance to acceleration. So mass is both a property of a physical body and a measure of its resistance
to
acceleration.
Which property?
Oh,
which property?
Oh, let's move. Just move on. Just mute him. He's fucking useless.
The last part of it is inertia. So you just added something onto the inertia definition.
No, read it exactly what it says. What Smooth's definition says. It's not inertia. It says measure of its resistance. It does not say its resistance to acceleration. It says its measure. That's a difference, Jeremy. Do not find an escape hatch. That is a difference.
Okay, how would you know the resistance to acceleration unless you measured it?
It's a
derive it directly from
quantification.
its mass.
It's a quantification of that.
Jeremy's laughing as though he thinks he's correct.
That wasn't me laughing.
That was me laughing because it was such a silly question.
Sorry.
Whatever, you guys go back. Why don't you go back tonight and show QE that you can define mass? I'd love to hear that.
Oh, QE is slightly smarter than you.
Yeah. Oh,
He's not able to
no
debate.
problem.
He's not able to debate without a mute button.
All right,
Jeremy,
no problem to go back tonight and show him that you can define mass.
Have him come in
Easy
here.
peasy.
Have him come in here, and we won't mute him.
Easy peasy.
Oh, Jeremy, I invited QE to my server. Guess what happened? He declined. Right?
Invite him to my
wonder
server.
why-
He declined.
And I wonder why. Why did he do that? Right? Is he
Mute
so
button.
much? Is he so much riding on his mute button that he's going nowhere else? Right?
Pretty telling, if you ask me.
Oh, I think you got him there, guys. I haven't got Jeremy's accent right yet, but I'm trying.
Jeremy's fucking scrambling right now.
Scramble.
It is just disgusting to me that you're going to try to call me out using someone else's evidence and not even be able to support your claim
Yo,
and run away and beg for help.
Exactly.
You are a coward of a man. A coward.
Yeah, you talk down to Smooth, Jeremy, like you're smarter than him. Because
I didn't talk down on him. I just
No, you did.
I didn't
you did.
I just said
you
he got
did.
fucked up. Like
You
QE,
came
so
in
what?
there. You spoke like you could take him on, and now you've been given the opportunity, and no one's getting in the way. The floor is yours to debate, and you've just got every excuse. It wasn't my definition. Well, I didn't have to. I mean, come on, man.
I've fucked up.
You've been
Smooth
called
here
out in front of us all, and it's quite amusing. You're
I
squirming.
fucked up Smooth in here so many times. Like, what? I don't have time to do it right now. I don't know what to tell you.
You have fucked
well,
me
then
up
fuck
so
off.
many times. Okay.
Yeah,
I
you tried
don't
telling me
remember.
a suck. You don't remember when you told me a suction cup was a way I could get the weight of air on the outside of
It's
the
a way
suction cup?
that it's the way that you can prove that air has mass and that it has a gravitational. The gravity is pulling it down.
Yeah, that's not.
That's how we
weren't talking about
calculate the
shit like that.
amount.
We weren't
I mean,
talking
it's
about
not my
nothing like
fault
that.
you
We're
don't
talking about weighing
understand how a
gas.
fucking suction cup works.
We're
There's a
talking about
reason
weighing
suction
gas, bro.
cups.
The
Suction
whole
cups.
day weighing gas. You say suction cups.
Yeah.
You're I don't know.
Come on, buddy. I'm listening.
I could be definitely a rudimentary experiment. Definitely.
Listen,
you could use
yeah,
you could use a
sheeples.
container and a suction cup. Definitely.
Thank you. You have to go weird with these things because they
get a
don't
suction cup.
understand.
Go get
yeah.
a suction cup and give me the weight of the gas.
Honestly, I could.
Let's see it.
You don't get it, do you? I don't think you even. I don't think you can even like draw it in your head. I mean,
let me explain it to you, sheeples, and maybe he'll listen. Right?
Mm.
The way we measure atmospheric pressure is a 1x1 square from the surface of the Earth all the way to the 100 miles up, I believe. Right? So it's just a column, a 1x1 column.
Right.
You can calculate the outer surface area of a suction cup. Doing some unique mathematics, you'd be able to calculate how much that suction cup will actually be able to pick up in total weight because of the atmospheric pressure pushing against it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there's a reason suction cups don't work in a vacuum.
Okay, you're gonna weigh the gas on the other side on the outside of the suction cup, right? Is that
Fucking retard. You are a
that's
fucking
all the gas.
retard.
That's literally all the gas in the whole world is on the other.
You're already
on
done.
the outside
You're already
of that
done,
suction cup.
Jeremy. You're already done.
Except for the tiny amount of gas inside the suction cup, all the gas in the world is outside the suction cup.
So why doesn't it work in a vacuum?
How are you going to give me the weight on that? The weight on all of the gas on the other side of the suction cup?
Because it's conversion from pounds.
Well,
pounds
give me
of
a
pressure.
number. Give me a number. No, we don't want the pressure. We want the weight.
I just said it's a. Oh, for fuck's sake!
What we're talking
you guys,
about
you guys
is the fact
conflate.
I said
Go
it's a
ahead, Josh.
conversion,
Go ahead,
Jeremy,
Josh.
which means we
Josh, go
take
ahead.
the pressure and we convert it to a weight. Did you not hear that
Dross
part?
off, and now I'm letting him go. Go ahead, Dross.
Yeah. So yeah, basically what we're talking about here is a resistance. So it's a calculation that Smith's talking about. And we apply that in the real world with things like suction cups. And the reason that the suction cup works in the way that it does, so there are suction cups I use to pick up false flooring. So I can go and look at cabling. It's horrible, dusty work. Don't have to do it anymore. Love it. And those suction cups are rated to 50 kilos. And the way that we know they're rated to 50 kilos is because of these calculations. And when we test it, they will bear at least 50 kilos reliably. And it's due to the forces that we're invoking in those calculations that allows us to make that measurement. And when we test that measurement against reality, guess what? It works.
Sorry, we got the suction cup, right? And there's all the gas in the whole world's on the outside of this suction cup, pretty much.
Listen
right?
to a word I said.
No, you didn't.
I'm just trying to figure out how we're gonna.
It's not worth spending time talking to you anymore,
Not the
Jeremy.
pressure. You guys conflate pressure and weight all the time.
Jesus Christ, Jeremy.
It's not worth talking to you, man. It's really not. It's really not,
Fine,
Jeremy.
then. I'll fall.
Because you don't realize that you convert the pressure to a weight. You know there's a conversion table for PSI to kilograms. You do know that,
Sure.
don't you?
Do your measurement and tell me the weight of the gas that's on the other side of the suction cup, which is all the gas in the world, pretty much.
Oh my god.
So tell me the weight of that gas. Go ahead. I'll wait. Do your conversions.
At what height, Jeremy?
Jeremy, what are you going to do with it when you get it, Jeremy? Explain your point of the experiment, why you want us to jump through your hoops.
Well, my point was you can't weigh gas without a container. That was my whole point.
Who cares?
Hang on, that's not your point. You even admitted that was you learned that. None of these things are your points.
You would still only be weighing the
genetic.
I just sit here listening to stupidity
That's
for the
a
last
genetic
hour
fallacy,
on the same
Rocket.
fucking point.
That's a genetic fallacy.
No,
You're
I
a
don't
fallacy.
fucking care, Jeremy. It is so fucking frustrating listening to your stupid derp. Only in this room would you get a chance to talk to the people who are this technically savvy and spill out your shit the way you are.
Jeremy, you do tend to waste a lot of opportunity in this room. Instead of actually having a discussion, you just parrot points like you can't weigh gas without a container. Who cares? Does that mean it doesn't have weight? No.
That has some serious implications.
No, it really doesn't.
It does.
What implication could you possibly have out of you can't weigh something outside of a container?
He doesn't know. He just picks up lines from other people and derps them out. He doesn't know.
It goes to relative density. You know, does the gas? This all falls in with your. All right. Okay.
How the hell does it go to relative density? It still has mass, doesn't it?
When it's out of the container?
Yeah.
Sure. I guess so. You could feel
There
wind
you go.
and shit. Yeah.
Then there's no fucking reason.
Well, I mean, actually, hold on, because
there's no fucking reason to think it does not have weight outside of the goddamn container when it's a mass within the gravitational well of Earth.
Hold on, because light doesn't have.
The only implication is that you are too goddamn dense to even think about what you are saying. I'm surprised that everything on Earth isn't attracted to your stupid ass. If relative density were correct, then you would be the center of all things, and all things would be trying to fall directly towards you. God help you if anyone drops a knife, you ignorant fuck.
Are you done with your tirade? All right.
Sorry.
Why are you guys all being so mean to Jeremy? What the fuck?
Jake, they're all ganging up on me. They're all mad. This all
Yeah,
started because
dude.
Smooth couldn't define mass, and they're blaming me.
You
for
ran
it.
your mouth and you're being called out for it. Then when you open your mouth further, you show just how much you don't understand.
I
And now
Jeremy
you're looking for
is a saint
victimhood.
among men.
Not really, Scott. Not really.
He's
Jeremy,
he's a gentle soul, and you should treat him as such.
Oh, gentle soul, my ass.
Grown
He's a
ass
rude
man.
fuckhead.
He's a
rude
wonderful,
fuckhead.
gentle human being.
No, he's been pretty shitty lately.
Yeah, he's just running his mouth.
Jeremy, I like citing what Blue says at the end of his videos. How stupid are you is a question. It's not a challenge. And every day you keep rising to the challenge.
That's fucked up,
Does
Rocket.
does it make you guys feel better about yourselves to make fun
Yeah.
of poor Jeremy?
I mean, my
I'm not
mom
making
Poor
told me
guy's
that.
only got one eye. I mean, come on.
My mom
making
told
fun
me.
of Jeremy.
My mom
I'm
told me
making
you're just
exactly
jealous.
how
I knew the
obnoxious
insincere
it
part
is.
was coming.
Oh no, I wonder if Jeremy's proud to be a shitty human right now.
Why would I
No.
do that?
Now, listen, Jeremy. You've been called out for your. Listen, I don't know if you remember this because you don't seem to take in anything anyone says here. But I told you about a month ago. People are going to come to a point where they're tired of your shit. They're tired
Listen,
of
you're
giving
gonna.
you their time, and you're reaching that
Whatever.
point
Then
right
go
now
ahead.
by the
Talk
by
about
the
something
thing.
else. Go
Oh,
talk
Jeremy,
about something
Jake,
else.
here's
Then.
what
Go ahead.
happened, right? Jeremy talks shit all day long about how everyone gets destroyed and all this stuff. Yet whenever you challenge him on it, he runs, he obfuscates. I've challenged Jeremy like 9 times to 1v1 on any server to talk to him about anything. He claims I'm a moron and he always beats me up and all this other
I
shit.
never said you're a
No.
moron. Never said that, straw man.
Yes, you have.
Straw man fallacy. Never said you're a moron.
Anyways. So, Jake, you know what? The
So,
reason we're
Jeremy,
beating up on
don't-
Jeremy is because he's talked enough shit and now it's time for him to get hit.
I have no listen. No, there's no doubt. You people in this room are very
You have
smart.
insulted his intelligence. You have said a number of things about him. Don't say it's a straw man to say that you called him moron. He didn't use the exact term you used. That's not a fucking straw man. If you're willing to use fallacies, at least use them correctly. You ignorant twit.
All right, just settle,
Jeez.
Brian. Just settle down, bro. Settle
No,
down.
Jeremy, you're literally pushing everyone to the fucking edge because all you do is fucking claim to be innocent, talk shit, and then hide under Kiwi's fucking nuts.
That's fine. I'll stop talking. You guys. Go
Hopefully
ahead.
you will.
Go ahead.
Maybe you'll learn something from just listening.
Yep. Go ahead.
You come in with your sly remarks about something that someone's talking about, and then turn it back on you, and then you'll bring in, "Hey, did you see this and that?" Mark
You
my
literally
word.
just called me a fucking idiot using my suction cup example when several intellectuals actually agree that it's a way to help retards like you understand the universe around us.
No,
Yeah.
the suction cup thing is ridiculously insane. You're not going to weigh the gas on the other side of the suction cup.
Explain how it's ridiculously insane, Jeremy.
Because we're looking for the weight of gas. Now, they're saying with the suction cup, we're going to weigh the gas that's on the outside of the suction cup.
Yes.
That's all the gas on Earth.
No, it's not.
It's on Earth.
It's the very small percentage that is pushing down on the suction cup. If you would like to know
So
the
the
entire weight
pressure.
of all the,
That's
if you want to
pressure.
know the entire weight of the atmosphere, you would have to know what percentage that suction cup represents.
See, that's your problem. You're conflating pressure with weight. We don't I don't
How
care
is
about
the
pressure.
how is the pressure that's not even touching the suction cup included in your calculation, Jeremy? Why would you do that? Why would you
Listen,
do that logically? Why would you even consider that's a relevant way to assess this?
I was just saying. Listen.
No,
all right.
no. Answer the question point blank. It's a real basic question. I formed it the best way I could because I'm a simple person too. Okay, I'm not this
question.
mathematician
Go ahead, say
magic
your question
man.
again. Oi, say your question again. I didn't hear you. Go ahead.
Why would the gas or the atmosphere that's not even near the suction cup matter in any calculation?
Well, we're trying to weigh the gas. So, which part of the gas are we weighing here? Where's the section of gas that we're weighing? Because the other side of the suction cup's all the gas in the world.
Yes, no, it is not. You're measuring a column of air directly above that suction cup. Period.
Well, the suction cup's in my bathroom, so there's not a lot of air above it.
Yes, there is. You're measuring the weight of the atmosphere pressing down on it from above. That's it. If you would like to know the total weight of the atmosphere for the planet, you would have to calculate the surface area of everything on the planet.
You guys are
and figure out
conflating
what
pressure.
percentage that suction cup is. You can quite easily convert pressure to fucking a force, pounds, weight, pretty much damn near anywhere you want to transfer it to. We do it all the damn time, and this is why you could never learn my fucking job, you ignorant prick.
You're conflating pressure with weight, I think.
No, you convert pressure to weight, Jeremy. How many fucking times do you not understand these things are interchangeable? Liquid has a amount, but also has a weight and a volume, and all of these different things interchangeable. And just like pounds of pressure, 14.7 psi is about 1 kilogram. Do you not understand this? Fucking hell.
Per square inch. Wow.
Exactly.
There's a clue there. Pounds,
It-
square, inch. Make it no. Let's go again. Pound.
See, the difference
Square.
between pressure. Sorry, I thought you were done. Go ahead.
I'm
The
done.
difference between. Go ahead.
You know what? I'd rather hear from either Bender or Sheeple, regardless of what projects they are currently working on, than
All right,
continue
fine. Go ahead.
the conversation.
Go ahead.
I mean, you're just
Well, you know
Bender
what? Just honestly, do me a favor. Leave him alone. Just stop picking on him. Not picking on him, but he deserves it. But I'm saying, like, just let him be, because we're just circling the same bullshit again and again now. He doesn't get it. He's not going to get it. He's not going to grow as a person from any and learn any of this. He does the same thing tomorrow and tomorrow. Sorry, I don't want Sheeple or Bendo. Tell me what are you guys working on?
You're right, man.
Right this second, smoking a cigarette.
See, that I find more interesting.
I
Outside, because you're
changed,
not allowed to smoke in the house, right?
I changed the nozzle on my printer, and now I have to re-level it all. And now I've noticed that there's a bit of a problem with my bed because I think gravity is finally overtaken. So I've had to completely readjust the springs. So it's turned into a process that I'm now up for, thinking it was going to be a 5-minute job. And then listening to Jeremy is just insult to injury.
The insult was Jeremy saying he'd be able to learn what I do in 6 fucking months and can't do basic fucking geometry or math.
Oh, no. Jeremy came up with a conspiracy about mechanics fuck up your car. But there is a when you go and get your car serviced, if you're nice to the mechanic, you get a reasonable price. If you may be someone who's struggling, like a single mum who's struggling, you might get a cheaper price. When you're an arsehole who knows everything but they've bought their car, you get the special price. So there you go, Jeremy. If you complain about your car costing so much, it's because they reckon you're an arsehole. That's a definite conspiracy, and I'm part of that myself. I've always done that with customers. There's a conspiracy for you.
Well, it's just negotiation. There's nothing wrong with that.
So you're saying depending on the way I look or my attitude or if I'm an asshole or not, you're not going to give me a fair price on my car? And you were advocating for that mechanics weren't.
For me, it's fair if you accept it.
I will back what happens there all the time. Single mom needs help. She's only got a little bit of money. Okay, we get her car back on the road. Some dick like you comes into the shop. Yeah, you're getting hit for everything I can.
That seems like an unfair business practice to me.
It's called street justice.
It's called you need something and he's got it.
Inconsistent business practice.
That's a terrible, yeah.
If you don't like my price, Jeremy, take it down the road or do it your damn self.
Yeah,
Fair is
supply
fair.
demand. Supply and demand.
Jeremy, it should not be difficult for you to do. After all, you can learn advanced machinery in 6 months.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, not just advanced machinery. The entire
Consistently
spectrum.
inconsistent. Bender, where are you at, Bender?
I'm in Ohio.
Cool. I'm in North Carolina.
Yeah, Jeremy, you just said you could learn everything I learned, so you could pretty much work on any production car with very basic tools and get it back on the road.
I mean, if you taught me for 6 months, yeah.
6
It's
months
impossible
wouldn't
to
even,
teach you.
Yeah,
Or a
6
year.
months wouldn't even scratch the surface, Jeremy.
I'd give you a year. It's pretty complicated. I'll give you that. I'll give you a year.
A year, you might be a half-ass decent entry-level tech at some dealership that knows how to read a fucking scanner, and that's about it.
Yep. Facts.
Jeremy, you want to know why we take at least 4 years in the field training before we interview anybody? Before you'll even get an interview, you have to have worked somewhere else for 4 fucking years.
Right. Or 1 year with you.
No, Jeremy, before I will teach somebody, you have to have had real-world top-level tech experience at a dealership for 8 years. There is no entry-level understanding of what I do. You either know it or you don't. And if you don't, I don't have time to teach you. I couldn't teach you. We're 30 levels. It's like teaching a kindergartner how to do advanced college-level geometry and math.
Hey, so like to change it a little bit, what's like the latest absolute proof the flares have besides the Black Swan? Last thing I remember, they're like, oh, Black Swan, Black Swan.
They don't have anything.
They got nothing? Oh, fuck.
Here's one for you, Jeremy. On a turbocharged or a supercharged engine, why must we increase the amount of RPM out of our turbo or supercharger?
Why would I know
As we
this? You
go up-
haven't trained me for a year yet. Why would I know that? You haven't
You
trained
know
me.
that before he trains you.
Exactly.
We weren't talking about before he trains me. We were talking about him training me and then me being able to, do relatively what he does. Maybe not as
If
good
you
as
were
he
listening, Jeremy, he said you'd need to have years of training before you even got trained by him. So now these
Rocket
things he's
says it-
asking you are basic questions that you should know if you're wanting to be trained by him.
Listen,
I
I
know
was
that
gonna back
listening is
off the
not your
mic.
strong suit, but
I was gonna
maybe
back off the
work
mic.
on it.
I was gonna back off the mic and let you guys go, but you can't stop addressing me and talking to me.
Because
Just
Well,
go
you said
ahead.
you said a lot of shit that you need to get beat up on. So
you
take your lumps.
backslap me in the face saying that what I do is so fucking easy. You
I
can learn how
didn't
to do
say
it in
that.
6.
I never
You
said
you
that.
can learn how to
Straw
do
man
my
me.
job in
Straw man
6 months,
fallacy.
you little bitch ass motherfucker.
All right, I'll try
That's
to
a straw
champion a
man.
Jeremy point. Jeremy, I'll do the floor sweeping thing because sometimes the guys say that the gas will fill the vacuum chamber, which even though it'll fall down, right, it would have to still fall down for you to sweep it up, right? But it's like if it's filling the space and the space keeps getting bigger, right? Will that gas stretch to the whole space? You got how he says you can't sweep up the gas?
Yeah, Don, the gas is never gonna fall and just be still on the vacuum floor. You're never gonna be able to just sweep the gas up. That's insane.
Okay.
Maybe if you got it to 0 Kelvin, you could do that. That's another story. That now we're in theoretical fairyland.
But I'm saying, what if it's not a lot of the gas, Jeremy? Wouldn't it just fall to the earth?
See,
Like
you know
in
what
a
I do? You know what I do in winter with like smoke tricks is I take a glass, I pour some water on it, put it outside, let it freeze. I take a hoot and I blow that hoot and it falls in that cold glass, and I could literally drink that smoke out of the cup.
Right. Now, Jeremy, but let's take it a step further. There is
What smoke?
atmospheric
Hold on,
pressure.
Don.
Hold on. I want to champion your point, Jeremy, because me and
This
you've
guy
got
just
you.
said.
Listen, he can.
Go ahead.
There's relativeness. That smoke and has atmosphere around it, and maybe it's keeping that smoke from just expanding in all directions, filling up the entirety of the universe. So let's hypothetical. If we were to take that amount of smoke and put it in, like, let's say a house size, you're talking about a cup of smoke, but if we put it in a house-sized, empty, vacuumous area, would that 1 cup of smoke fall to the ground and be able to be swept up, or would it fill the entire house?
All right. First off, smoke isn't gas.
I'm not asking you. This is for them to agree to first or not, Jeremy. This is our side asking them.
Well, we're building this all up on a faulty premise that the smoke is the gas.
Smoke is not gas. Jeremy is correct in that point.
Okay, listen. The guy was talking about different things that had different densities. One thing's denser, it'll fall. The gas in a vacuum would be denser and it would fall. Okay, so I don't care if your fucking analogies again. I'm talking about a cup of gas in a house-sized vacuum.
Don,
What would
The
happen?
Globers aren't even fighting me on this point. Everyone knows that the gas is never going to be just fall to the ground and be swept
for
up.
the Globers. Speak for your fucking self.
The gas is never going to fall to the bottom of the vacuum to where you can just sweep it up.
Because I want to agree with you here, because you keep drilling it in my head, but I don't hear the Glovers agreeing to it yet. So if I can get some sort of agreement, I'll personally be able to make progress.
Go ahead, tell them, guys. I don't know what you're waiting for.
Jeremy,
this is simple.
He's asking
Tell Don.
you.
Don has a question.
No,
he's
I'm
not
asking you guys, sheeple. If a cup of gas is in a house of a vacuum house size, would it fill that entire house, or is it going to fall to the ground so we can sweep it up?
A vacuum house. Like
It
a
won't do
house
either
inside a vacuum.
A vacuous space the size of a house.
It won't do either of those things.
On the earth.
On the Earth, it won't be on the ground where you can sweep it up, and at the same time, it won't be evenly spread throughout the entire house. It will be gradiated.
Exactly.
Okay, it'll be small house. I mean, the height in the house isn't that much, but you're saying there'll be a slight gradient, but it would fill the house, and it would fill somehow the cup.
It would
size
fill
of
the house,
gas
but there would be a gradient.
I'm not saying it would
Size of gas.
I'm not saying it would necessarily fill the house. You would have the ability for the particles to roam all over the house, and according to how they are excited, they may reach different heights. But as a general rule, the house will have a higher concentration of gas towards the bottom versus the top, but it will not sit only on the bottom.
Right. So if you extend that out well, that's why the atmosphere goes out so far, I guess. But you're saying it will fill the house. So if there's not enough of it, will it only sit on the bottom? Why does
it's going to fill the whole house?
No. I did not say it will fill the house. I said
But
that
it will fill the house. What are you talking about?
Not in the way that he's saying
So if it won't fill the house, either way, Jeremy, you could sweep up the atmosphere on the Earth because it's all.
If you
falling
could
to the
somehow
bottom.
suck every molecule of gas out of the house and put a cup of atmospheric pressured gas into the house, you will have air molecules everywhere in that house.
Yes, Jake, please explain it. Hold on a second. Jake, please explain to Don that these gas particles that we're going to put in this house are never going to fall to the ground, so we could just sweep them up.
But they do, he said.
Yeah, they're going to be, there's going to be more of them hitting the floor of the house than the ceiling, because they're going to be traveling on a ballistic trajectory where they're going to be arcing and not always striking the same amount of the roof as it does the bottom, which is why you're able to weigh the amount of gas in there. There's going to be an unequal force between the roof and the floor, which is how you're able to weigh the gas.
I'm going to kill him for you. Are you ready?
Jake, just address.
Let me kill him, Jeremy. Globers,
Jake,
be prepared to be killed. For all you
ahead.
Globers that say you can't sweep up the gas, imagine that you're very, very big with a very big broom out in space. You could sweep the gas of the atmosphere of the Earth. It's all on the ground, and you could sweep it.
You wouldn't be able to, like, you go into that house and you start sweeping in the house, and you're sweeping on the floor, you'd be collecting more of the molecules than if you were sweeping the ceiling. But are you going to be able to sweep the whole house? No.
The gas molecules are never going to just be laying still on the ground. You know what I'm saying?
I guess if you had an infinite amount of time where you were eventually could sweep every last particle, you could, because the gas particles are always bouncing around in there.
No, they're laying still on the Earth. They're laying the gradient.
If they were laying still,
the atmosphere,
there wouldn't be a gas.
Stuck to the Earth.
If they were laying still, exactly, they would not be a gas if they were still.
Well, what if you got them to? Yeah, I don't know.
Here's what all I'm saying, Jeremy. The size is what's fucking us all up. You're like, oh, well, it's just a house, so the gradient isn't extended enough to show a distinction point.
What do you mean? You could easily measure the gradient in the house.
Yeah, I'm not talking about measuring the gradient. I'm talking about distinction point of what you're sweeping up. Like, in Jeremy's waving a broom in the house, he's thinking, oh, well, the gas is all above my head, above the broom, to the side of it. It's not just on the layer where the broom is sweeping. But if you have a giant broom out in space, the layer is around the Earth. You could sweep up the gas.
You wouldn't be able to sweep up all the gas, though. That's the important difference.
Right.
Yeah, you would have your dustpan
spread out past the moon, right?
And you also took us out of the house, Don. We're inside a house.
Yeah,
How's the person on the outside of the house sweeping
And there's a bigger house. The universe is the house, and the Earth's amount of gas is the cup of gas.
Okay. If you had a broom that could sweep up all the gas in the universe, yes, you could sweep it all up.
All the
so
gas
what's the
in the
point?
universe. The gas in the cup, i.e., the gas on the Earth. You said that gas in that cup will fill that entire house with a gradient. So the gas on the Earth is filling the entire universe with a gradient.
Okay, well, in the example of the house, you could go in there and you sweep the floor, you'll get some of the gas. And you can come back an hour later and sweep the floor, and you'll get some more of the gas. And you can keep sweeping, and if you had an infinite amount of time to sweep, yes, eventually you would capture all the gas.
Because it's all going to keep falling down?
In a dustpan. And you hold on. What are we sweeping this into? A normal dustpan in your kitchen? You think you're gonna get
No, because the gas molecules are bouncing around all the
Yeah,
time.
but Jake, when there's one left, how would you get that last one?
You'd
gonna
have
be
to wait
bouncing
for a time
everywhere.
where it happens to be on the floor.
Right. So the time, see what you're saying? So the last particle, there'd be a time where our particle that would be
Because
is
that
on our
particle
floor is sometimes out past Jupiter.
No, there's a limit to how much velocity that particle has, which will limit how far up it could go.
Right. So eventually, so in the sweeping example, exaggerated, right? It doesn't fill the whole. See what you just said? There's a limit on how far it can go.
Yeah, but
first it fills the whole house with a gradient, i.e., fill the whole universe with a gradient. But now there's a limit on how far it can go.
well, there's a limit. Yeah, there's going to be a limit as to its speed. Unless you put more energy into it, right? Are we talking? And that's the other thing is what temperature is this gas, and is the temperature being sustained?
So back to the beginning, the gas doesn't fill the whole house.
What are you talking about? It does fill the whole gas, the whole house,
the whole universe.
No, not the whole.
Can I ask?
Every gas molecule has a velocity attached to it, right? That's its temperature. The average velocity of the molecules is the temperature. Now, when you get to one molecule of gas, the temperature will become erroneous. And then that molecule will have a certain amount of energy to it, right? And it could be losing energy or gaining energy depending on whether there's energy going into the room or not.
I have to admit, this is, yeah, I can't follow here. It's above my head, Jake.
You understand that the gas molecules have an average velocity, right? And all the gas molecules on Earth, they don't have a velocity high enough to escape into space. The only reason why we lose gas to space is because other particles from the sun that have enough energy hit those gas molecules, which gives them enough energy and thus velocity to leave the Earth. That's the only reason why the Earth loses atmosphere to space. It's because it's being hit by something else from the sun that has enough speed and energy to accelerate those molecules to a speed that they can leave. But if you were to plot the minimum and maximum velocities of those molecules, there's not going to be any of them that are going to have the speed to leave the Earth.
Can anyone else ask? Can I just get in? It's about the fourth time I've said, can I ask? So, Don, would this be like, say, a freezer that's closed off, it's sealed, for some reason there's a vacuum, and there's a little can in there that's got atmosphere in it. The top falls off, a cup of gas. Is that what you're asking, like a sealed, say, on the Earth?
I don't know, really. I'm just trying to get consistency.
You understand? I think what you're missing, Don, the molecules have different speeds, and they constantly hit each other, and they exchange those speeds. And their average speeds is what determines their temperature, and it also determines whether they're going to be able to leave or not.
Yeah, I mean, I get why there's only some that have enough escape velocity. I'm just saying, it matters for consistency when you're describing the sweeping the gas up off the room. You got to keep in mind that you're going to have this massive size example here, this big scale example. Right? It doesn't exactly match apples to apples with the other example. For your XYZ reasons. But that's what I'm saying. It makes it hard to talk about the small scale example. Jake?
Yeah, I'm not sure what you're asking.
Well, it's just hard when I try to let Jeremy know at a point, you know, you can sweep up gas, you know, but on the small scale you can't. And it's like I'm sick of feeling like we all should be agreeing, but we're still disagreeing. It's just crazy.
I mean,
Ultimately, what does
realistically, when
that
you try to
prove?
realistically,
Sorry.
when you try to sweep a gas, sorry, when you try to sweep up the gas, I mean, you mean you're gonna like swoosh it into a container real quick and then close the container, or are you just trying to use a dustpan in your kitchen? Like they're never gonna be still on the ground to
I
where
just
you
want
can
to know
just
that the
sweep them
shit
up.
falls. Really, that's all, dude.
You understand though that these gas molecules are flying around in the house, right? And they all have different speeds. And then when they hit one another, they'll trade those speeds. One might be going faster and hit a slower one, and then their speeds will average out, etc. Right? That the molecules are always bouncing around off one another. But there's a limit to how fast those molecules are going, which will determine what their maximum height would be. Do you understand that aspect of it? Don,
Are you talking to me? Oh.
I'm talking to
Yeah,
Don.
I get it, definitely, Jake.
Right. And so you understand that if there's a maximum speed, then there's a maximum height that they could reach before the molecules will be pulled back down to the ground.
No.
Yeah, to
No.
me it's just
It's
They go in a
ballistic,
you
right?
you can exhibit some downward
bullet-
bias even in a vacuum. I don't care if it's filling the house or whatever. You're gonna recognize your gradient or your if it's a heavy gas, you're gonna
The gradient occurs precisely because all the molecules are being pulled down. The faster ones go higher,
Exactly.
the slower ones go lower. But what that means is that you're going to have more molecules at the bottom than at the top because they're being constantly pulled back down towards the ground.
right.
That's what creates the gradient.
Gas will.
And that's why the maximum velocity of that gas is going to be determined, or the maximum altitude is going to be determined on their velocity.
That's why the helium argument is so stupid.
The hydrogen and helium, the reason why it's getting stripped into space is because they're the lightest gases. They go to the very, very top of the atmosphere because they get displaced by the heavier molecules. And then once they're there, they're getting bombarded by a particle flux from the sun of very fast particles. And
It's
those
not
will
only
hit the
that,
gases.
Jake. I've read more than that. Yeah, they tend upwards because of their buoyancy, but I've also hold on. I've also heard that they can pick up escape velocity from the interactions of the buoyancy on its way bouncing up or whatever, basically, or being displaced up, however you want to. I've heard that some.
Yeah, I don't know enough about it. I mean, that might be true. I don't know enough about it. I've always thought it was predominantly the solar wind that was picking up the atmosphere.
It's predominantly it is charged particles imparting energy to small molecules or atoms. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, there's some statistical, like, very low chance that some molecule going up to space is just getting hit in the right amount of direction and with enough velocity that it just goes up, and out.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
There's a perfect storm of interactions where they just keep getting accelerated and accelerated till eventually there's enough interactions that it reaches escape velocity. I mean, maybe that's possible. I don't know what the distribution of that would be.
I promise you.
Yeah, so that may be possible.
It's plausible, but extremely unlikely due to the number of factors that have to come together for that to happen.
Well, I'll tell you, it's a mainstream science article too. It's a peer-reviewed thing.
Yeah, and maybe there's some percentage that they can statistically assign to how much of the molecules are lost to that versus the solar wind, right? But
Don, peer review has serious issues with it. I wouldn't take everything that gets peer reviewed for.
I'm just trying to give them to let them know it's not a radical thing. I read a pretty legit thing, I think, about it. I believe.
But,
Might
you know,
even
like
been
that
NASA.
article that was showing that there's rust on the moon. It's because there's oxygen being stripped off the Earth that's being accelerated into the moon.
Oh.
And peer review is actually pretty good, Jeremy. I don't know why you've got that fallacy in your mind that peer review doesn't work. It actually, it's universities arguing with each other to make sure the result's correct. So whatever you've got there, dude, unless you've got something to back that up, you probably really need to withdraw that because peer review actually does work. You're driving your car because of it.
Boomer, I think he's parroting something QE said.
I got something to back it up. Hold on.
Guarantee it's from QE. I heard him going on about it the other day.
Yeah. Apparently a couple of dodgy dudes register a university, then they read that article and it's 3 people. Then suddenly the flirts grab onto it. Generally speaking, very good minds get together, come up with a theory, throw it to each other to actually debunk it. So by the time it's peer reviewed properly, it's actually a really sound process. So
exactly.
Yeah, it's good.
And just let me add this before, you know.
Look, Jeremy knows when Thompson's been to QE's place because QE's dick tastes like shit. That's really what it comes from.
Yeah, but the thing is that these papers are available to all people, and then most of the time they're looked at again by other scientists later on, and you know they go over them to confirm or learn from them, you know, and so I just find it very interesting.
Yeah.
Go now, Jeremy.
Like
give us your.
He's looked it up on the internet.
Comes up with a
posted things.
Crash comes up with a theory that his fuel mixed with barbecue goes faster, and I go, fuck that. If it's barbecue sauce makes your car go faster, I'll test it because I'll sell the same fuel if it's that easy. And then suddenly, that's Crash's theory. I've tried it. Fuck, it works. Then someone else hears it. We all try it. We'll discover barbecue sauce in your race car actually works. We've all tested it. But if one of us finds it doesn't, we're going to attack you, aren't we, Crash? Yeah. How's your barbecue sauce fuel going anyway?
Disclaimer: no one used barbecue sauce in the race car.
No, that's the best fuel ever.
But barbecue sauce is mostly sugar, right? You could easily make rocket fuel out of it.
Okay, I'm posting several things in the debate chat box on the problems with peer review. I mean, you could just Google this information.
Well, what
and find
exactly
it.
are the problems, Jeremy?
Yeah, can you just give us a synopsis?
I mean, you should probably just read the article.
Yeah, because you
No. You can tell us.
You just read some headlines and things.
It's heavily biased for one.
Right. Okay. Can you just go through it? Yeah, just go through it for us. I mean, you would be more. You know, let's not waste time. You already know exactly what all these articles say. So can you just go over it, please?
I supported references to back up what I said.
Just hit some bullet points. Just some straight, the general points. You think you could provide some kind of synopsis of what these peer reviews, what's wrong with them, possibly what we could do to better the problems? Nothing, huh?
Yeah, we're not jumping through your hoops, man. Just tell us why. We're not jumping through your hoops anymore, Jeremy. You tell us why.
All right. If you don't want to, it's all in those articles I posted. If you don't want to read them,
have you read those articles, Jeremy?
No, I already knew before these articles.
No, have you read? So you haven't read those? You're just posting stuff.
How do you know the answers in those if you haven't read them, Jeremy? Maybe you could give us your favorite 3 reasons why peer review, instead of vague words like bias. Obviously, bias anyone could think of.
Nothing, Jeremy. Really?
Yeah. This is the part where you reply.
You guys can check it out if you want. Go ahead.
Oh.
But you don't know because you haven't read any of the shit you posted.
If you've got solid evidence, wouldn't you be dying and chanting at the bit to tell us? Just like you wanted us to tell you whatever shit you want us to read for us. Say about the opposite. Come on, mate. You're getting hypocritical. Why don't you tell us, in a nutshell, your assessment as to why peer review is wrong, or you retract the fucking statement? Thank you.
Well, for one, it's heavily biased. For two, they've published many fake peer-reviewed. They published many. I was right in the middle of it, and I got interrupted.
Yeah, you're not saying anything. It's heavily.
I got interrupted right in the middle of it.
Bias. What is the bias?
For Stone, no less.
Okay,
you don't
carry
know the
on.
Definition of bias?
Carry on then. Carry on. I just said don't use bias because that's like saying a review of a movie was biased because some people loved it and the other people thought it was an emotional, bullshit, roller coaster.
This is biased. I mean, why can't I use biased if it's biased?
What is the bias, Jeremy?
What is it? They're favorable to their paradigm, of course.
They're favorable to their paradigm. You're just saying words now. What the?
No, they're biased towards their paradigm.
Okay, you're not going to say gender or sex or anything. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. This is just another fucking thing that you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, man.
How about an example of the bias that you cited just then?
I mean, it's in the paper. I can't cite a specific example.
It's in the
It's
paper.
in the paper.
It's in the paper, but you said you haven't read those.
How do you know it's in the paper, Jeremy?
I skimmed them.
So what did you find?
Oh my goodness.
Also, many fake peer-reviewed papers have been published that weren't even real papers. I think somebody published like 25 fake peer-review papers.
All right. So there was one. There was one MMA fighter that got tested for drugs. Now the entire world of MMA fighting is all drug test. Gone. They're all drugged.
They're not
just untested.
most of the shit's not.
The whole
the
fighting elite world now has to just sit under a blanket statement because there was some corruption.
It's not even that. Jeremy is referring to when a group of social scientists got together and they made a bunch of fake articles to insert into a gender studies centric journal organization.
They got mine confidence, so go ahead.
So accredited, the peer review was done by a bunch of flakes.
Also, most of this shit isn't even repeatable. So you got the science that's being published by peer review that's not repeatable.
Oh,
What's not
that's
repeatable in science?
That's a big claim there, Jeremy. That's a hell of a claim. Can you cite any? Oh no, you're just going to tell us to look at the things you've skimmed.
I'm literally driving to work.
Exactly, Stone. Look at the
article.
article.
I'm probably not going to have time for a while. I'm driving to work.
All right. Well, have a good day.
Oh, I'll be on. I'm here.
You can go away if you can't participate.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll go away. Go ahead. You guys chat. I wanted to go away a while ago. You guys keep sucking me.
All right, off you go. We won't hold you anymore. You just make baseless claims and leave. See you later.
We didn't suck him back in. He actually came into state peer review, and he jumped into when Don was asking that question about the vacuum and gas. So we didn't suck you back in, Jeremy. Yet again, another example of you spouting shit. And like Sheeple said, we are kind of getting sick of it. Come up with something with substance, man. Something you've read, perhaps.
That's a nice hang.
I always look at this, being from a non-scientific background, even this word I just used then was wrong. But, the idea that science is this somehow shut book to the world, and what's in it, that's it. And it's never changing. It's written in stone, the idea that it's not open for refutation in every single manner and there for every other scientist to have access to. It's just insulting,
The fact that you can even find information about how peer reviews are a little fucked up and can be fixed and stuff. I mean, that tells you right there that you have, people out there that know there's some problems. Well, not problems like Jeremy, because he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. But we have a freedom in society that we have these people out there that are smart enough to look at these processes and find flaws with them, and you can read about them. You can know about these things. It's not a.
We're very open.
And they eventually get caught.
Everything's fucked up in the peer review process because there's a bias. Okay, dude.
Yeah, but he can't even defend it. Like, I know Jeremy's listening to us right now, and it's insulting that he doesn't even finish reading the titles to some things. I don't think Jeremy's ever come in here saying, I've read this article, and paragraph X, sentence X, I think this point aligns with my views, and this is why I believe it aligns with my views. Instead, he just Googles, like, has there ever been a red moose? Guys, all mooses are red.
Well, you saw what he put in it. Problems with peer reviews. So he just.
What problem? Did he answer what problem? What was a single problem with peer review
Well, he thinks
editation?
bias is the word. He's not going to tell you if it's gender bias, sexual bias. He's just going to say it's bias to their paradigm.
It doesn't even it doesn't even
words.
tell you. It doesn't even tell you what. So he doesn't have any sort of idea which journals might be biased, how they're biased. He just says bias in general without any sort of narrowing it down to, is this a problem in a specific field? This is a problem to all fields. Is this a problem? Is this a problem according to? There's just nothing to it. There's no delineation. It's all a problem to him.
Right. You have this. If you're getting into social sciences, then you're getting into a little bit more of a touchy-feely type of science. It's not quite as concrete as some of the other sciences.
Yeah. That's a good example. When you're working in exact science like engineering, a bit of wood with that length and that ton breaks, and you can repeat that over and over. When it's a vague subject, that's where it does become tricky. But these
Gender
guys
studies.
on something.
Like,
The
I'll
best
play
ones I
devil's
find are the
advocate.
ones that say NASA said, I don't know, the moon is yellow. Read the article, and it's got 5 different paragraphs. One said in some instances it's yellow. They grab that one paragraph. They don't ignore the other 4 that were actually more relevant. And that's a big meme culture, I think, and Jeremy's one of those guys. They get sucked into the headlines.
I'll play devil's advocate for a little bit and say, yes, peer review is a human endeavor. It involves humans. Humans are flawed creatures. We're selfish. We're greedy. We have a bunch of conflicting agendas and whatnot. And so inevitably, peer review will have flaws. It will be biased on some level. It will have all of these things. However, you can't necessarily just use that statement to throw out the baby with the bathwater type of thing.
Yeah, and that peer review that was done that could have been one of these cases that falls into the parameters you just talked about. Greedy, bias, all these type of things. Incentive can then be looked at, right, and reassessed by others. They're not hidden studies from anyone else, are they? They can be looked at again. Those peer review papers can be read by other scientists, correct?
Yeah, and I mean, that's why you have different journals that have different levels of credibility and different levels of prestige, because some of them are very stringent with their peer review process, whereas others are a little bit more lax and you get more shady things happening.
I posted a link in the chat to a paper which is definitely not peer reviewed.
But I think like
Facebook's mums group, peer reviewed.
if you ask like a top scientist, like genuinely, is peer review perfect? They'll say obviously not. But it's the best we have and it works. And the great thing about it, like it was mentioned earlier, is that it self-corrects. Even if something does go through that wasn't supposed to go through, other people will see that and they'll criticize that, and it will probably get addressed.
Example of that is the guys who published the paper on cold fusion. They published the paper, it was peer reviewed as accepted, and then you had other labs try to reproduce the result and they couldn't. And so the original authors had to retract the paper.
That was them trying to cover it up.
Well, yeah, I mean, they tried to say, well, it's like that, but in the end, it was just they had to retract it.
Or a very easy example is the guy who started this whole anti-vaxxer thing. It was discovered that he had conflict of interest, and which is why he falsified his work, and the peer review process in general discovered that, and he lost his license and the proper consequences happened.
And it's amazing that that people overlook the fact that he was trying to create his own monovalent vaccine as a replacement for it. He was motivated by his own greed, and people think he was trying to be a savior to children.
Actually, Brian, a question for it. We're talking Andrew Wakefield, I take it, right?
Yeah.
So in one of his big proponents is Del Bigtree, and I heard him defend Wakefield, and his position was in one of the papers that Wakefield published. There was he wasn't the only author. There was about a dozen other authors on that paper, and he made the claim that these people they let the work go through, but they didn't pay any price of publishing this work, or they didn't suffer any ramifications of it. Just curious, what you think about that? So Wakefield was obviously the main